Today I'm going to be teaching you one of the most gratifying shots to do in pickleball. It is the backhand roll or the backhand flick. This shot is so much fun. Can't wait to teach it to you. Now this shot is a crowd favorite. However, I know it can be difficult for some people, and understandably so. The backhand roll can be a bit of an awkward shot, but there's a couple of analogies that I want to introduce to you here that will help, and I'm going to show you some slow motion. The technique, we're going to be coming down to up. So like you see people do all the time, it's going to be a down to up kind of motion, but we're going to get into the advanced technique as well when it comes to the flick, but we're going to get started with the basics here. So regardless of your skill level, you're going to learn something here, okay? So the trick to doing a really good backhand roll is that you have to have the continental grip. This is very, very important. If you have a top spinny grip like this, where your grip is kind of like on top sort of, it's very difficult to get the face pointed down like this. Now, keep in mind that when you do a backhand roll at the net, your face will not always be pointed downward. That seems like it would make sense, right? Because you have to keep the ball low and you have to get topspin on it, but that's not always the case. There's going to be times when the face will be a little bit open or almost neutral, so that's okay, but we don't want that total topspin grip, so you do need to be continental on this motion. Here's the visual that I want to give you when it comes to the basic stroke. I want you to imagine that you're in an empty garage. You're in your garage, there's no car, you're standing right in the middle. Your paddle is the door. Just put it right out in front of you like this. And I want you to pretend like you're going to hit the button. This is the door. What's the door going to do? It's going to go up and then over your head like that, right? Because if you're standing in the middle of the garage, it'll go up and over, right? So just like this. Garage, the door's right in front of you, up and over. And that is the basic motion. So paddle down and then up. And you want to put it on top of your head like this. It's like you're blocking the rain. So watch, down, up, like this. Notice how, see how open my face is? That's gonna happen. Face is gonna be a little bit open, that's okay, but down and then up. And you have to trust this motion. We're talking about topspin here. Topspin requires faith. You have to have faith that the spin is gonna keep the ball down even if the trajectory goes up at first. That's how topspin works. It's a bit of a leap of faith. Here's the second most important part of this stroke. Absolutely essential, you have to squat. There is very rarely not going to be a case where there's not going to be any kind of squat or knee bend. It's not necessarily a knee bend, it's more of a squat kind of motion here. So that squat and the lowering of the paddle happens at the same time. Another thing I want to add about the footwork as well, it's not just a squat. Every now and then you're going to be required to lunge as well. This lunge is really helpful because if you have a ball way over here on your left side, or your backhand side, I should say, it's going to be really awkward to turn like this and do the stroke. You have to lunge first and then do that same garage door opening stroke like that. Okay, so stand here at the kitchen line, feed your partner shots, and practice this motion and focus on this. Don't worry about the performance of the ball. Just don't worry about that right now. Okay, like that. And notice the squat. And what you can do is when you finish the stroke, just stand here like this and notice what's going on. If you finish the stroke and you're standing straight up, that's not going to work. That's a problem. So like that. So notice how the squat comes first. I squat to get prepped for the shot, then I come up on it. Now here's where you'll really be able to see the motion here. By the way, if that ever happens when the ball is way up high like that, just come up high and then come straight down on it. Don't try to do a topspin roll on something that's way up high. Typically that just doesn't work. See that motion? Now what you may see me do is the flick where I come out here like that. That's later, but it's a habit, okay? So just do this stroke first, please. If you're new to it, like that first and foremost. Like I said earlier, I'm going to show you some slow motion footage, but I want you to notice how the squat and the lowering of the paddle happens at the same time here. Notice how I just punched that. Keep that in mind. You don't have to do this shot all the time. If it's high enough, just punch the ball. Don't try to get too fancy with that. I had that issue for a while personally, and you know, sometimes you just have to go back to the basics, back to what's simple. But where this shot comes up is with kind of these lower, kind of mid-height balls. That's where it's really powerful. Before we get into the slow motion video, I want to show you the flick. So let's go into the flick now. This one is a little bit weird because the motion is very different. Beforehand, we talked about this kind of motion, but instead of finishing up on top of your head, you're gonna flick out this way. Do you have to do that? You really don't. You really don't have to. But it does feel a little bit more aggressive when you're able to sort of flick your arm. The way this works is you're gonna pretend like you're kind of like a reverse windshield wiper. So windshield wiper goes like this, right? It goes right to left from start at least, right? But it's gonna be the exact opposite with this. And what you're gonna do is your forearm will be facing up like this, and then it's gonna be your forearm facing down. So up to down, and you're just gonna flip your arm over like that. That's how that works. Wrist. There is a little bit of wristiness in here, but it's mainly the forearm. That's where a lot of the power is gonna be coming from with this kind of stroke. Really fun to do, but again, in terms of like power, is there a huge difference? A little bit, but not too much. And do you notice the aggressiveness of that? I mean, I really smacked that ball. The loading up of the power happens with the squat. But focus on that forearm flipping motion. And it really happens quite suddenly. Notice the flick. So much topspin on that ball. By the way, this is a great thing to do if you're just getting started with topspin. It's a great place to start, so I hope you enjoy that. Speaking of enjoying it, if you're enjoying this video, would really appreciate if you liked it. Helps me out a lot, and feel free to subscribe as well. Thank you so much. Let's do a couple more of these. Again, you know, the other thing is, like, don't worry if they go to your forehand. You can practice your forehand roll as well. We're only gonna be doing the backhand roll here. honestly, what could be more fun than doing a shot that's fun and also super, super effective? Focus first and foremost on that squatting motion, come up with that garage door analogy, and then from there you can move on to the flick, practice those shots. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got a lot more content on here, so feel free to browse around. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.